Hello and welcome to the University of Utah, all University of Utah alums. We have today a discussion with Dean Peter Trapa of the College of Science. Peter, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Nelly. It's a great pleasure to be here. And on behalf of the entire College of Science, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. As one of the largest colleges at the University of Utah, the College of Science educates thousands of students each year in biology, chemistry, physics and astronomy, and mathematics. And today, I'd like to go over briefly some highlights of the college and then move to a discussion of what the future holds as we really think about embracing hands-on research and educating the next generation of scientists and mathematicians. Now, there are definitely a lot of challenges in the world today, and none are more urgent than the ones we find ourselves in the midst of. And before I go any further, I wanted to take a moment to recognize the upheaval of the past few months, both with the COVID-19 pandemic, of course, and with the more recent struggle around justice and equity around the country. We are definitely witnessing an urgent response to eliminate structures that propagate inequality and injustice. And I, as the dean, and all of the College of Science community, we're committed to equity, diversity, and inclusion on campus, and we fully support the work of our senior leadership at the University of Utah and our leaders in the state to make our campus a place where all students, faculty, and staff are welcome and valued. And in reflecting on this, I think the message I want to give to current and future students is that you belong here at the College of Science, and we're here to help you succeed, and we believe that you can change the world for the better. So with that in mind, I want to discuss how the college is preparing our students and working with our alumni to address scientific challenges facing us today. So the COVID-19 pandemic has brought new light on the critical nature of science and mathematics, and particularly how it informs public health. And I'm so proud that many of our faculty, students, and alumni are on the forefront of facing this pandemic. The solutions that they contribute to will make our world both safer and healthier. So scientists and mathematicians are at heart really problem solvers, and they are the ones that the world looks to in times of uncertainty. So I want to begin with a brief introduction to the college, kind of an overview, and then I've worked through some prepared slides here, should take about 15 or 20 minutes, and then I look forward to answering some of the questions that you might formulate along the way. So let's start with a little bit of background. So as I mentioned, the College of Science includes the departments of chemistry, mathematics, and physics and astronomy. That's one department, physics and astronomy, together with the School of Biological Sciences. There are also several interdisciplinary centers, for example, the Henry Eyring Cell and Genomics Center. As one of the largest academic units at the U, we graduate over 750 undergrad and graduate students each year. And as I've indicated on the slide here, the college is ranked very highly, 27th among public universities for the quality of science and mathematics education nationwide. So we outrank not only our regional peers, but many of our Pac-12 peers as well. So I want to drill down a little bit more on that, and this slide shows that our individual departments are routinely ranked as some of the top in the country. For example, there you can see that math and chemistry are departments that are top 20 among public institutions. And if you include private schools in that as well, our science rankings are in the top 50. We're number 46. Our faculty attract a tremendous amount of external federal grants supporting their work. And that's what enables the college to maintain the highest caliber of research and learning opportunities for our students. But the real point I want to drive home here or highlight is the value proposition. In this bar chart on the right, you can see the tuition figures. So the University of Utah for in-state tuition is about $9,500 a year. That is less than 1/6, if you can believe that, of the tuition at the University of Southern California, USC. And meanwhile, USC isn't ranked any higher than us as a science school. So this is really a tremendous value and opportunity, and we're committed to maintaining the affordability of these opportunities for our state, for all Utahns. Our faculty are what make this place special. The college is home to over 250 faculty, lecturers, instructors, and postdoctoral researchers. Many of them are leaders in their field, and they're recognized accordingly. I've listed a number of the accolades that our faculty have received. And there in the middle of this picture is my friend and predecessor, the former dean of the College of Science, Henry White. He's a distinguished professor of chemistry. He's kind of looking like a sheriff there. I think he should have a gold star on that lab coat there. But I think Henry would want me to also mention something that he's very proud of in his home department in chemistry, is that in addition to being a leading research department, it's also one of the most diverse chemistry faculties anywhere, both in terms of the representation of female faculty members and also underrepresented groups in STEM. And that's testament to a long-standing commitment that we have in the college, and definitely the commitment that they have in the chemistry department. So our facilities are something that make us very special. So we are housed in some of the oldest buildings on campus around President's Circle. But if you haven't been on campus in a while, for example, maybe some of you are joining us from far away today. If you haven't been around in a while, you'll really be surprised by the changes and the renovations that have taken place around the science buildings on campus. So there in this slide, what's pictured is the George Thomas Building. Some of you may remember that as the former Museum of Natural History, or maybe some of you may even remember it as the library before that. When the Museum of Natural History relocated to its current spot, its current location adjacent to Red View Gardens, we took that opportunity, and really the generosity of Gary and Ann Crocker, to completely reimagine that building and completely refresh it. And it's now known as the Crocker Science Center. That's really the heart of the College of Science. Thousands of students pass through there every year for coursework, for advising student services, and of course, laboratory courses as well. And what we're seeing is that because there's this tremendous demand to meet the needs of the increasingly STEM-based workforce in the state of Utah and regionally, there's an increasing need for more state-of-the-art, world-class facilities like the Crocker Science Center. And we're planning to expand our footprint around undergraduate laboratories for exactly this reason. We're adding more laboratory space to the Crocker Science Center, or we're planning to in the near future. And we're also deep in the planning of a new home for our physics and astronomy department. And I'm going to touch on that later. I'm going to come back to that and tell you a little bit more about that project. Students are really the heartbeat of the college, and we're deeply invested in the success of all of our students. While there's really no typical student in our college, every student shares the curiosity and inquisitiveness that defines all of scientific inquiry. Our students work hard, but each of them has the capacity to change our world and make new discoveries. And led by top-notch faculty, and it's really this close interaction that students get, this opportunity to work closely with those leading faculty that I mentioned on a previous slide. Our students get a fantastic education in the classroom, but more than that, they get a lot of real world hands-on experiential learning in the laboratory setting by conducting independent research. I'll touch more on that a little bit later. And also through internship opportunities. So it's this combination of excellence in the classroom and then also these experiential opportunities that we offer, which I think is an important component of our education in the College of Science. And that's really our differentiating role, connecting students to lab and research experiences. These are things that they really can't get many other places at all. So ultimately, we believe that this is the way that we can tap into the potential that each student has when they come to the College of Science, and the way that we can help them achieve their ambitions, their goals, and find their passion around science and mathematics. So our alumni are certainly leading the way. Pictured here is one of our newest alums. That's Delaney Mosier. She was our 2020 Virtual College of Science Convocation Speaker, and she received the highest award that we give college-wide to graduating students. That's our College of Science Research Scholar Award. And I think Delaney is an excellent example of the really exceptional caliber of our alumni. She participated in research throughout her undergraduate education in my home department, the Department of Mathematics. She was involved in developing mathematical models for sea ice at the polar ice caps. And now she's continuing her education as a graduate student in mathematics. A lot of our students go on to pursue graduate degrees, professional degrees, and many at elite institutions all around the country. But ultimately, most of them land in industry. And what I've put together here is a slide that contains a small collection of the companies that have recently hired College of Science graduates. And as you can see, it really cuts across a tremendous number of high-tech, STEM, healthcare industries, and especially those based in the state of Utah. So I think it's testament to the fact that employers are, especially our local industries, are recognizing the value of a College of Science degree and hiring our students. Our alumni and donors really make a difference. They're the driving force behind the success of our students in many cases. And many alumni, regardless of where they ended professionally, be it after graduate school or medical school or dental school, they got their fundamental science and mathematical foundational knowledge here in the College of Science. And we're so grateful to the members of our Giving Society, the Crimson Laureate Society, and the academic scholarship and operating support they provide to the College of Science. So that's a good spot to maybe take a quick break. After that long monologue, I think I'm going to take a little drink here, and then maybe Nellie might come back and join us.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. This was great. Thank you, Peter, for the introduction. Let's talk about some of the exciting things that are happening at the College of Science. First, COVID-19 is obviously on everybody's mind these days. The U recently made the decision to hold in-person classes in the fall. Can you talk a little bit about how this will look in the College of Science and why in-person research is so important?
Okay, thanks, Nellie. I completely agree that we're deeply in the planning phase for what the fall will look like around the COVID-19 crisis. And as you indicated, as the decision stands today, the university has articulated a couple of high-level priorities. And they are that we as a university are committed to providing as many in-person experiences as we can for our students this fall. Okay, so of course we have to observe the utmost precautions around safety for both our students and faculty, also our staff. And what that means practically is that we simply don't have the same capacity in a typical classroom. So a classroom that under normal circumstances could seat 100 students, well, when you factor in social distancing and 6-foot radii around each student, you might only be able to fit 40 or 50 students in such a classroom. So immediately the classroom capacity across the entire university has shrunk by more than half. And how do we plan for that? Well, every academic unit, the College of Science in particular, has submitted their plans, their proposed course offerings for the fall. And now the registrar's office is going to take the next couple of weeks to try to solve that incredibly complicated scheduling problem, to try to integrate and synthesize those requests from each academic unit. So I think the scheduling will become much more clear in the next couple of weeks, and we'll certainly continue planning in the meantime. But one point, and you kind of got at it in your question a little bit, is, and I touched on it earlier, is that we really consider our laboratory education as a critical and differentiating aspect of our education that we provide in the College of Science. So from the more unique perspective of the college, we're committed to really offering as many in-person laboratory courses as we can, because while there's a tremendous amount of innovation around online education, you can do fantastic things with it, there's really no substitute for combining reagents, observing qualitative features of reactions in real time, and using instrumentation to make quantitative measurements around laboratory experiments. So for us, we're definitely supporting the university's broad mission, but we're committed to those experiential laboratory-based learning opportunities. And those come in wet lab experience, as I just described, mixing reagents. There's also a lot of modeling and dry lab computer laboratory work that we do as well, and analysis. So that touches a little bit on how we're planning for the fall.
Thank you so much, Peter. What specialized training are College of Science students receiving to prepare to meet the future challenges facing our world?
Right, that's a great opportunity for me to return to what I was mentioning before, that we recognize that our undergraduates and our transfer students, they really want an exceptional experience in the classroom, but they're also seeking those real world experiences outside the classroom, internships, research opportunities to work on real life problems. And we think that experiential component is very important to prepare our students to face whatever challenges that they encounter in the future. So that gives me an opportunity to talk about a program that we recently launched. It's called our Science Research Initiative. And what it's aimed at, and it's really kind of a stretch goal at this moment, but this is what we're aiming for. It's a program that would provide all first-year students and transfer students, their first year on campus, regardless of what their previous background was, would provide all of those students the opportunity to participate in discovery-based scientific research. So we have a lot of faculty who are working with students on research projects, independent research. But typically you've got one faculty member who can work with one-on-one with a student, or maybe work with a couple students. And if we want to scale those kinds of experiences for all of our entering students, then we've got to think about a new model for that. And the model that we've come up with and we're starting to implement is organized around research streams. So these would be a group of 15, 20, 25 students all working on a common set of difficult research problems over the course of several years. And these research streams are kind of vertically integrated. You have a professor who's assisted by graduate students and postdocs, providing a lot of the intellectual input about what problems to pursue. And then you've got more senior students mentoring the entering junior students in this entire multi-year research stream. And that's what we're aiming for. There are very few places around the country, just really a handful, that offer similar kinds of opportunities for students. One of the best developed ones, and one we're looking to a lot, is at the University of Texas, Austin. And they've got a lot of interesting data that comes out of their program. What they find, maybe not surprising, confirms what you might have guessed already, is that, well, when students get into these kinds of research streams early in their career, they get excited about science. They're part of a cohort of peers that can help support them, help form their community, and help them with whatever challenges they have as students. And because of that, they're retained at a much higher rate. They don't stop out before achieving their degrees. Okay, and that data, when you drill down on it a little bit more, what it shows is that the positive impact on retention is especially pronounced among students who are first-generation college students, and especially those from underrepresented groups in STEM. Okay, so that's a really important part of our strategy around equity and inclusion, that we want to make these really important opportunities that we think are absolutely essential for preparing our students for the challenges that they'll face in the future, that we want to make those opportunities available to all of our students, not just the ones who know how to navigate a university or have prior experience one way or another doing so. And so this program, the Science Research Initiative, I think it's really a fantastic intersection of education, definitely an educational program, and research. There's research input, and then it feeds into the college's important priorities around equity and inclusion. And finally, there's a fourth component that I'm excited about. I've gotten out and talked to a lot of local industry partners, some of whom were listed on that slide earlier. And they of course have a vested interest in developing and maintaining a pipeline of high quality future employees to step into their industries and contribute productively. So what we've been able to get is our industry partners are actually sponsoring these research streams around electrochemistry or around the instrumentation that's used in disease diagnoses, the kinds of things, testing COVID-19 kinds of things that are happening at ARUP, and even some applied math, machine learning, data science research problems have attracted funding from local defense contractors. So really it's this four-way intersection: education, research, equity and inclusion, and then partnership with local industries. So that's an exciting program. And as I said, we're aiming to scale it to provide these opportunities to all of our entering students and continue to ramp that up over the next couple of years. Does that get at what you were asking, Nellie?
Yes, thank you so much. Definitely, thank you.
So I also want to take this opportunity to return to something else that I touched on earlier, the new home that we're planning for the Department of Physics and Astronomy. And so let me take a few minutes to tell you more about that. So what I've pictured in this slide is the Stewart Building. Some of you will know the Stewart Building. This is I guess we're looking at it from the east. The Stewart Building is located just behind the Thomas Building Crocker Science Center, the former Museum of Natural History, just to the south. It's a wonderful old building, and it's 101 years old this year. It was built in an era of good buildings, got some good bones, but it definitely has some serious failing infrastructure. It's a perfect time to take a look at refreshing it and giving it some new life. And because we have this increased demand for really driven by our STEM-based economy in the state, this increased demand for students in these disciplines, and therefore the need for more laboratory space, we're planning to renovate and expand the Stewart Building. Okay, so it's going to be future home to the Department of Physics and Astronomy. It's also a partnership with the Department of Atmospheric Sciences, really important and essential, critical applied science department on campus. And that department is not in the College of Science, so this is a partnership with the College of Mines and Earth Science. And to give you a little bit of a feeling of what this building project will look like, well, yeah, so let me give you a little aerial view so you can help you kind of picture what's happening here. So to get you oriented, the center of this slide is President's Circle. You'll recognize the Park Building up there. You'll be able to spot Kingsbury Hall on the north side of President's Circle. The street that you see on the right side, lower right-hand corner, that's 1400 East, and the street that you see on the left part of the slide is 100 South. So I hope that orients you. And those two departments that I mentioned, Physics and Astronomy and Atmospheric Sciences, they're currently scattered in various parts over these four buildings off of 100 South: the Fletcher Building, South Physics, INSCC, and the Browning Building. And so what this project will do is we'll take those researchers and students that are currently spread in those different locations and bring them together in the Stewart Building. That's located there on the right side of the slide, behind the Crocker Science Center. And in this renovation and expansion project, I was mentioning. So to give you an even better sense of what that might look like, I've got a short video, about a 2-minute video that I want to play next. So we rehearsed this and re-rehearsed this, and it went off without a technical glitch. So I'm hoping that it also goes off without a glitch here. I'm going to hit play.
The STEM-based workforce is the backbone of the future. It powers every aspect of what essentially every company in Utah and across the world does. As the flagship public research university for the state of Utah, we play an integral role in the state's economy. We do that by educating new generations of students who are the backbone of the future workforce. Of all the STEM degrees, the undergraduate level produced by the Utah System of Higher Education, almost half of them are produced by the University of Utah. In physics and astronomy and atmospheric sciences, the departments that are going to be housed in this new building project are absolutely critical in the production of those degrees. We're very grateful at the university from the support that we've had from the state for new infrastructure. We're equally grateful from our private benefactors who've contributed generously to help upgrade our infrastructure. As a university founded in 1850, we have a large number of buildings that are at the end of their life. And we are in many cases attempting to train students and support research in 21st century ideas and 19th century infrastructure. The university has done a remarkable job meeting the demands of the STEM workforce by cobbling together almost every available resource at their disposal. But now we've reached a breaking point. We're in a situation where the infrastructure is failing and can no longer meet the increased demand for these degrees.
Right now, not only are we struggling with crumbling infrastructure, we also have a capacity issue in that we can't serve the number of students that we need to. One of the biggest bottlenecks in our program is the lack of available undergraduate laboratory space. We have students doing experiments in the hallways. It's an environment that is not conducive to the type of learning that we want to happen there. In order to move forward, we need those classrooms, we need those lab spaces that are modern and can handle the number of students that we need to prepare for the Utah workforce.
Ultimately, this project is about much more than a building. It's about addressing some of the most important issues for the future of the state of Utah. It's about elevating STEM success statewide and increasing the quality of life for all of the citizens of the state of Utah.
So I hope that gives you a little bit of a feeling for what that building project would look like. And we certainly understand that this is a multi-year endeavor, but we're already deep in the planning phase, and a lot of important work has already begun. So with this last slide here, I've put up our College of Science web address there, science.utah.edu. It's a great place to stay informed about all the happenings in the College of Science. And I certainly am very grateful that everybody took the time to tune in today. And I look forward to the opportunity to seeing many of you on campus someday soon.
Thank you so much, Peter. We really appreciate it. It looks like we have some questions from our audience. So let's address some of those in our remaining time. First one is, how is College of Science contributing to the COVID-19 research efforts?
Okay, so have I successfully stopped the presentation view and we're kind of looking at each other in kind of the normal Zoom view here?
I think so, yes.
Okay, so great. Yeah, so one of so you're asking about the science research that's going around the COVID-19 crisis, and there are just so many dimensions of this. You know, our mathematical modelers are working with epidemiologists and public health professionals, not only to model the spread of COVID in the state of Utah, but also, you know, contributing to these national and international models. I want to touch on one really neat project that was funded by the National Science Foundation almost immediately after the NSF pivoted quickly to solicit new proposals around COVID. And what this project is about, it's undertaken by our biophysicists, and they're able to take a look at individual COVID virus components and see how they respond under various environmental conditions. So how these viruses survive under low humidity or higher heat. And of course, this is really essential to understanding the seasonality of the COVID transmission rates and things like that. So, meanwhile, we have some natural products researchers in our school, biological sciences. They're experts in looking at products that exist in nature, in particular neurotoxins that are manufactured by cone snails. And they have some very innovative ideas about how these natural products might be manipulated to stop the spread of viral transmission. So a lot of exciting efforts around that, and hope that gives you just a little bit of a flavor of what's going on.
Thank you so much. We have another question. The College of Science have had 5 Churchill Scholars in the last 5 years. Can you share how we had such a great success in this prestigious program?
Sure, that's a good question. So some of you know a lot about the Churchill Scholar Program. Others of you may not know about it. So let me give you a little bit background on that. Oftentimes the Churchill Scholars are referred to as Rhodes Scholarships for scientists. They offer students the opportunity to continue their education in the UK at Cambridge or Oxford, and extremely prestigious, very hard to come by. And the University of Utah has the longest consecutive winning streak, 5 years in a row, as you mentioned, Nellie. And the question is, how did the university compete with the Harvards and Yales, who are also sending students or having their students recognized in this way? What's our recipe for success? And well, it really gets back to what we were talking about earlier. We provide these opportunities for students to engage in carefully mentored research projects, working closely with faculty, often beginning early in their careers in the College of Science and working for several years, making very significant research contributions on top of their other schoolwork as they're progressing towards their degrees. And it's those kinds of experiences which are recognized in these Churchill Awards. So, and we've had them from all different departments, chemistry, physics, mathematics, biology. So all of the departments that are represented in the college are really committed to giving this kind of experience to the students, and it's recognized in this way. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Another questions. What happens to the existing physics buildings and assets after the Stewart Building moves? Or is it just incremental space and all 3 buildings will be utilized?
Okay, so that's a good question. So I'll tell you the master plan here is that the Fletcher Building, that's the one that kind of, if you recall, kind of looks like the Starship Enterprise there along 100 South. That building was actually built, so it has a Starship Enterprise configuration. There's this rotunda where there are a lot of classrooms, and then it has this rectangular portion as well. Now, that building was built in an era where there was no considerations around seismic code. And in fact, that rectangular portion, just to upgrade that seismically, would cost over $30 million. So the much more cost-effective approach for the Fletcher Building is to keep the rotunda, renovate it for classroom space. There's a really, really nice classroom. Some of the people on the call will probably remember taking physics in those classrooms. But because of the escalating maintenance costs on the rectangular portion of the Fletcher Building, the master plan is actually to demolish that, to bring that down, and get out from underneath those escalating maintenance costs once and for all. So it's a combination that and then the South Physics Building, that will be repurposed for other activities as well that likely will not involve the College of Science. So we're going to bring these researchers from physics and astronomy into the renovated and expanded Stewart Building project. So that's, and the reason why that makes sense is that even though the Stewart Building is 100 years old, it's much older than the Fletcher Building, it was built in an era of good building. So the seismic upgrade, I think I still remember these figures, the seismic upgrade on the Stewart Building is only $3 million compared to the Fletcher Building, which was $30 million. So that's why it makes sense to invest in the Stewart Building and bring the Fletcher Building down. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much. The campus totally looks different from just in the last 10 years. It changed a lot. So we look forward to see the science buildings. The next question is, can you talk a little bit more about how the college will address equity in STEM in general and STEM in the college in particular?
Yeah, and that's a great question. It's of course very timely at this moment. And we are fully committed to supporting the university's broad mission around equity and inclusion. And so there's a lot of expertise that's been assembled by our senior leadership, and we interface regularly with them to support their initiatives, but also to learn from their expertise and bring that in conversations among our faculty, staff, and students. So research, there's a lot of it on this that shows that, in many cases, the language to productively talk about race is just not present. And a lot of these conversations that need to happen require, a level of candid discussions that we need to have. And so tapping into that expertise will be important. On the other hand, there are some very discipline-specific challenges in science, and especially around STEM. I was just looking at a report from the American Institute of Physics, which had a long multi-year study about participation of Black students in physics and why there are so few Black physics majors and why there are so few Black physics professors. And so taking this discipline-specific studies that have been done by the professional societies and integrating that into what we do in the college to make sure we understand the structures that are in place, which are inhibiting fairness and equity and equal access for all of our students. That's another component of our strategy. And I think that there are a lot of actionable ideas that are already in place that we're rolling out. I mentioned the Science Research Initiative is one important component of our strategy around equity and inclusion. But effective action requires sustained dialogue. And certainly that dialogue is now very active in the college, and that will be a continual feature of what we do, promoting that kind of dialogue so that we can make our actions as effective and informed, as impactful as possible.
Thank you so much. This sounds great. Next question. You are a mathematician. What do you recommend to parents who are listening now? How do we encourage kids to like math?
Okay, that's a great question and very timely. Okay, so I was kind of hoping that we'd wrap up soon because I'm expecting my 5-year-old and 7-year-old to run in and interrupt the Zoom call at any moment. So I have daily experience with teaching math to my 5-year-olds and 7-year-old, and it doesn't always go smoothly. I try to say exactly what you said, Nellie, that I'm a mathematician. They should listen to me, but it doesn't happen always. But to talk a little bit more broadly about what parents can do or with their kids around math in particular, math is a skill. It's kind of like a fluency of language, that it's something that we can just practice all the time. And it doesn't have to be some siloed activity that you just do math in your math class. You can look at the world in a very mathematical way. And that's the way a mathematician might look at the world. And I try to bring that to my kids. And I was laying some pavers in my backyard over the weekend. I think like all of us, I'm really communing with gardening much more than I ever had before. And I had laid these pavers out, and my 5-year-old wandered up and, or 7-year-old wandered up and said, "Oh, that looks like an interesting math problem, 5 times 3, because I'd laid them out in a 5 times 3 grid, and then he did the multiplication to get 15. I was delighted I'm delighted to report, but that's an example where you can integrate little math problems in sort of in everything you do, in the same way that we're used to using language and fluency and reading in a lot of what we do on a daily basis with our kids. And there are a tremendous number of resources out there, and sometimes it's a little bit daunting to wade through all the resources. But now they've been organized in a pretty solid way that you can find these sort of extracurricular math activities that I think are really important to complement the activities that happen in the classroom or around more structured materials that are in, say, a K through 12 curriculum. So those are just some ideas, and I certainly understand it's a very challenging time, this transition to online for parents who are trying to understand the best way to help their kids succeed in this kind of new framework, not just around math, but around everything.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And we have one last question. From your view, what are the most exciting research projects in the College of Science right now?
Well, it's hard to put a finger on just one because there's so much going on. And if I try, and undoubtedly I'll say a few words here, but I'm going to leave out some other ones. I've talked and I'm sure I'll hear about it from my colleagues, but I've talked a little bit about the COVID research, which I consider really important. I think one really important idea is that computation and the advances that we've seen around data science and computer science, that these are really completely are informing the way that science is done, really, in completely different ways. So that computation has just become an essential part of all of science. And that trend will continue. And we're working closely with our friends in computer science and others in an informatics initiative around campus to interface the College of Science with those really important advances around computation. We've got a new professor in chemistry, Shelley Mintier, Associate Chair of Chemistry. She was just awarded a very large center grant around electrochemistry, around clean energy and things of this nature. And that's synthetic organic chemistry, and very exciting developments in that space as well. And again, I'm blanking. I'm not gonna get to everything here, but I think that captures a few of the things that I'm really excited about. Yeah. Thank
you so much. Sounds great. Those are all the questions we had today. Would you like to say anything else about the College of Science?
On behalf of everyone in the College of Science, I want to personally thank everyone for tuning in today. And as I said before, I hope I have the opportunity to see many of you on campus in the not too distant future, and I look forward to that.
Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for watching, all the University of Utah alums. We hope to see you in person soon, wherever you are. But until then, we have many other events coming up online. So I hope everybody can join us as well. Thank you.